Because she gets lunch.
Please come to order. Please come to order. Good morning. Welcome to the Commissioner of St. Mary's County meeting this date, Tuesday, May 6, 2025. I am Randy Guy, President of the Commissioners of St. Mary's County. I'd like to introduce the other commissioners. Sitting to my right, representing the 1st Commissioner District, which includes Ridge, Piney Point, St. George Island, Mr. Eric Colvin.
Good morning.
Representing the 2nd Commissioner District, which includes Leonardtown, Hollywood, Mr. Mike Hewitt.
Good morning.
Sitting to my left, representing the 3rd Commissioner District, which includes Charlotte Hall, 7th District, Golden Beach, and Mechanicsville, Mr. Mike Alderson Jr.
Good morning.
Representing the 4th Commissioner District, which includes Lexington Park, some of California, Great Mills, and some of Hollywood, Mr. Scott Ostrow.
Good morning.
Seated next to Commissioner Ostrow at the end of the dais is David Weiskopf, our County Administrator.
Morning.
On my immediate right is Julia Birch, our recorder for today. Sitting at the table to my right is our Communications Director, Jenna Guzman.
Good morning.
Our video media production team is behind the glass, except for Amy. Please turn your cell phones off or on vibrate. When you come to the Commissioner's table, please approach by coming down the center aisle. And remember, this meeting is being televised, so you need to speak clearly and directly into the microphone for recording purposes. In other words, look good because this is live and recorded. At this time, please stand for the invocation and pledge. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing upon our commissioners here today. We have some tough decisions to make in the budget in the next couple of months, couple of weeks really. And please give us our blessing. Please bless our staff. Please bless all of the people in St. Mary's County. And we thank you for the fine day we have today. And thank you for all the rain we've had. Amen. Now for a pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Okay, we now have numerous proclamations. I'm sorry, we need approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Okay, next, Commissioner, we've got to go forward. The first proclamation is for Commissioner Alderson, the Travel and Tourism Week. Please move forward.
All right. Good morning, everybody. I'm here to do the proclamation for Travel and Tourism Week 2025, and a quick something I would like to share about travel and tourism. A couple of weeks ago, I received an email, and of course, it's budget season, and the person who wrote me the email said that St. Mary's County does not have anything to offer in the way of travel or tourism, and therefore we should not rely on them to give us any funding towards the county. I have something here that would tend to disagree with that. Whereas the travel and tourism industry has been a consistent driver of St. Mary's County's economy and workforce, and whereas a robust travel industry provides significant economic benefits for the county, generating more than $221 million in visitor spending in 2023, and whereas travel has been the foundation of a healthy workforce, serving as one of the largest private sector employers in the U.S., supporting 15 million jobs. And whereas spending by travelers to St. Mary's County has aided state and local governments alike, generating $46.8 million in tax revenue in 2023 to support essential services and programs. And whereas travel and tourism-dependent businesses and organizations, 60% of which are small businesses, are responsible for welcoming visitors to visit St. Mary's County. And whereas the rebound of travel with the pandemic's effects waning and traveler confidence rising will drive the rebuilding of the U.S. economy and American workforce. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim May 4th through 10, 2025 as National Travel and Tourism Week and invite all citizens and visitors to support the numerous small businesses, historic venues, and hospitality services that form the heart of St. Mary's County travel and tourism industry. This date, May 6, 2025.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners, county officials, Department of Economic Development, and residents of St. Mary's County for this opportunity to recognize the incredible efforts and impact of the tourism and hospitality industry on this county's economy. And I should say, my name is Liz, and I work with Visit St. Mary's, which is the destination marketing organization for the county, meaning we promote St. Mary's County as a travel destination to the rest of the world. With me today are several industry leaders representing the attraction, lodging, and food and beverage markets. Through their work and that of their teams, they are each providing a unique visitor experience that makes this peninsula an incredible destination for adventure, history, dining, lodging, agritourism, and so much more. Travel is an economic powerhouse, a job creator, and community builder in our county. The work of those standing with me today and all members of the travel and tourism industry are indispensable and irreplaceable. Thank you.
Thank you. Yesterday, I was at a Maryland 250th Commission symposium up in Crownsville, and people from all over the state were there. And when I got up to speak about what's going on down here, the people were amazed, enthralled, so glad to hear it, and they want to be part of us. So we will be seeing a lot of other in-state visitors coming up soon, and we were recognized for all of the great work of all of our partners.
One of the things that's so wonderful about this county is all the partners work together. We realize we're stronger together, we're better together, and it's a pleasure to be working with Liz under her incredible leadership on the tourism team, but we're all in this together, and we're going to make 2025 the best year yet.
I didn't know I had to say something. All right. I'm Jerry LaRue. I had the Shepherd's Oldfield Market in Leonardtown behind the fire hall. And you talk about the number of people that have visited us. We house 96 small businesses in the building. And we have a map that people mark where they're from. And I'll tell you, they're from all over the world. They come and visit us.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. John Seidel, Executive Director of Historic St. Mary's City Commission. I want to know who wrote that letter. We got some education to do here because, you know, if you think about heritage tourism, agritourism, ecotourism, tourism writ large, the potential in southern Maryland, particularly in St. Mary's County, is just off the charts. We have lots of work to do, but the impact already is being felt in a major way.
Good. Pass it around. Introduce yourself.
Michael Hughes, I'm the manager of the Port of Leonardtown Winery there in Leonardtown. Just can't help but say thank you to everyone for helping us be the success we are. Lauren, our winemaker, is here too. You know, it's just amazing what we're doing there in Leonardtown. I really appreciate it in St. Mary's County and as a whole, let's say that.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alyssa. I'm the marketing coordinator for Visit St. Mary's. I can't thank Liz enough for everything she does every day and all of our tourism partners. They really, truly make our jobs so easy with all the incredible things they bring to this area.
Good morning, Lachelle McKay. I'm the town administrator for Leonardtown, and I truly love the partnerships we have in this county and all the opportunities that we share. Thank you.
Good morning, Lauren Zimmerman, Port of Leonardtown Winery. And I just wanted to mention that, well, first off, thank you, Liz, for the invitation. And Port of Leonardtown will be celebrating our 15-year anniversary this spring, so we're very excited about that. And we'll be releasing a very special sparkling red wine for the occasion. And we've partnered with the St. Mary's Arts Council to design a very special label, and a local artist won, so we'll be featuring his label on our special bottle release.
Good morning, Peter Laporte from the Historical Society. We are also often known as a place to go do your genealogy, but we're also home for the Mull-Dyer Rock. And there's a person standing next to me who is very intimate with Mull-Dyer. But that has got to be one of the most visited and tourist places in this county. We're very happy to chart and record and interpret the history of this wonderful county. 6 years here, I haven't lived ever in a more wonderful place than St. Mary's County. And to the extent that we can, we're going to bring people here to learn about the wonderfulness and uniqueness of this unique county.
Good morning. My name is Brandon Rosario. I'm here representing the Southern Maryland National Heritage Area. And I would just like to say thank you to all of our partners for all of this hard work and all the things that you're doing at your amazing sites. You really can't throw a stone down here in Southern Maryland without touching history. And so I am just so thankful for all of these amazing partners for making it accessible to all of our visitors. So thank you.
Okay, next we have Commissioner Hewitt for the National Small Business Month.
Lauren Zimmer. Lauren. Emily.
Yes, you are. Okay. Oh, yes, Jerry. Yes, small business. The queen of small business. Okay, Small Business Month. My family ran a small business in St. Mary's County for 53 years. My dad for 15, and I did it for 38. And Lord knows, small business is sometimes called retail jail. You have to be there. I always remember when I was 12 years old, my dad had a business. Saturday morning, he gets me up, says, "Come on, we got to go." I said, "Dad, it's Saturday. People don't work on Saturday." He said, "Son, we do." He said, we're in retail. We have to be on when people are off. But it was a great career, and I really enjoyed it. But my heart really goes out for small business and Small Business Month. Whereas we acknowledge the contributions made by small businesses to the economic growth and quality of life here locally in the state of Maryland and across the United States. And whereas small businesses generate a large percentage of jobs in St. Mary's County, with a large majority employing fewer than 5 people. And whereas our Department of Economic Development, in partnership with our local businesses organizations, provides support for small businesses that represent major opportunities for economic development, innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, and expansion in our communities. And whereas county government contributes to small business growth through its economic growth strategy, business assistance counseling, and various business growth incentive programs. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, proclaim the month of May 2025 as Small Business Month and invite all citizens to support the numerous small businesses that form the heart of St. Mary's County business community. This day, May 6, 2025.
Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. We've been recognizing organizations these past few years, and Liquid Assets is an important organization. Somebody who couldn't be here today is Erin Melanson, who owns Zella Winery. She came up with the idea for Liquid Assets for the producer group. producer groups create ecosystems, not just producer groups, but any kind of organization like this really helps the existing organizations and helps new businesses that want to get into the business, providing support and knowledge and sharing knowledge. So I want to recognize Aaron. Also, today, Dr. Frank Clinton couldn't be here. He's our Small Business Development Center liaison up in our office, and he couldn't be here today. But I just want to recognize Liquid Assets. And then our office will be going out to visit a few small businesses, kind of doing pop-ins this week just to kind of recognize those businesses. So I'll turn it over to Lauren.
Just want to say thank you again, and very proud to be part of all the wonderful things here in Southern Maryland. So I will pass it along.
So as part of the Liquid Assets group, we just wanted to thank everyone for keeping us in mind as the local craft beverage goes from coffee to wine to everything you can think of, distilleries. We keep, I'm going to say, Southern Maryland growing, let's say that. So growing in a sense of farm, growing in a sense of ag, growing in a sense of people. So that's our goal. Keep everyone happy.
Just pass it back.
Pass it back.
Hi, Emily Lacey, St. Mary's Economic Development. I've been very blessed to be able to work with Liquid Assets a lot over the last few months, and just the sense of collaboration that they have and the way that they work together is so beautiful, and it's so important, and we're really grateful for all the hard work you guys do.
Which one you? Everybody knows who I am.
I think they all know who I am, too. Jerry LaRue at Shepherd's Oldfield Market. I haven't had the pleasure of finding out more about Liquid Assets, but I did hear some rumors about it, so I'm sure we'll be involved pretty soon.
No one else is out here. I want to hear from
I want to put in a plug for Jerry. She had a vision for that Shepherd's Oldfield Market. And Lord knows, we saw it when it was in infancy, and Lord knows, I've been here in this county long enough. I remember when it was a building and supply building, and it looked really bad. And Jerry got that building. And today it's just a wonderful, wonderful piece. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, all of you. Next, we have the National Nurses Week. Mr. Eric Colvin.
Right. Come on up. Who wants to hold the proclamation? All right. It'll be me. Excellent. Thank you.
Squeeze in, same ladies, you're going to hold on the shoulder. Squeeze in a little. You guys actually.
Well, very good. Thank you all for being here this morning. I know you have very busy schedules and do very busy work, and it's great to have you here to represent this morning for National Nurses Week. Proclamation reads, whereas the dedicated efforts of nurses play a pivotal role in promoting and maintaining the health and well-being of communities across the U.S., and whereas nurses serve as compassionate caregivers, advocates, educators, and leaders demonstrating unwavering commitment and professionalism in delivering high-quality health care services to individuals and families in need, and whereas the tireless dedication and sacrifices of nurses exemplify the noble spirit of service and resilience that defines the nursing profession, and whereas National Nurses Week, observed annually from May 6th through to May 12th, provides a special opportunity for us to express our heartfelt gratitude and appreciation for the invaluable contributions of nurses in our community. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim May 6th to May 12th, 2025, as National Nurses Week in St. Mary's County. We urge all residents to join us in honoring and celebrating the remarkable achievements and compassionate care provided by nurses, recognizing their profound impact on the health and well-being of individuals and communities. This date, May 6, 2025, signed by all the commissioners. So I'd like everyone to introduce themselves and say where you're from, but any comments too?
Sure. Good morning. I'm Lisa Nelson, Director of Nursing and Clinical Services with St. Mary's County Health Department. Thank you to the commissioners for recognizing all the great work that the nurses do in a variety of settings in our community, from public health to hospitals to long-term care. So thank you.
Kelly Goldsboro. I'm the nurse practitioner at the School-Based Health Center, and I'd like to thank the commissioners for their ongoing support for our programs.
Good morning, I'm Katie Tippett. I'm a registered nurse with St. Mary's County Health Department, and I oversee the infectious disease program.
I'm Caitlin Kirkpatrick. I also work at the health department. I am essentially the cancer screening nurse and the lead nurse case manager.
Hi, I'm Jill Shade. I'm a registered nurse in the infectious disease program.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Dawn Utrakis. I'm the Chief Nursing Officer at MedStar St. Mary's Hospital. Thank you to the commissioners and to the county on behalf of our more than 400 nurses, 90% of which live in St. Mary's County, caring for our community members. We are so grateful for the recognition. Thank you.
I'm Patty Belanger from St. Mary's Nursing Center. I do infection prevention and control and employee health. And thank you to the commissioners for recognizing National Nursing Home Week.
I'm Sharon Nicholson. I've been at St. Mary's Nursing Center for 24 years. I am a nurse by original trade, studied, went into HR, so I get the ability of taking care of the staff that take care of our residents. If the staff are not taken care of in a very kind, compassionate, and loving way, they can't deliver that to the front line. And it's leading by example. Nursing is such a tough profession, but so is healthcare, that we have to pivot and we have to invest in our staff. And the nursing home has really spent the last 2 years working on that so we can be the leader in the community for elder care.
I am Nikki Rowland. I'm the Staff Development Coordinator for St. Mary's Nursing and Rehab, and ditto what Sharon said.
I'm Sarah Kirby. I'm the Director of Nursing at St. Mary's Nursing Center. Thank you to the Commissioner and the community for allowing us to serve the community in this capacity. It's an honor to, for you all to trust us with your loved ones.
Hi, I'm Misty Casabianca. I'm now the ADON at St. Mary's Nursing Center, and I'm just going to copy what they say.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
And then we have awards after.
Okay, next we have the National Historic Preservation Month. Please come forward, those involved. Let's see.
A little bit, lovely.
Okay, whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for managing growth, revitalization neighborhoods, fostering local pride, and maintaining community character while enhancing livability. And whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and ethnic backgrounds. And whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as people. And whereas harnessing the power of place is the theme for National Historic Preservation Month 2025 and shines a spotlight on the role preservationists play in protecting history spaces while meeting the needs of communities for the present and future. Now, therefore, we, the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, do hereby proclaim May 25th as Historic Preservation Month. We urge all citizens to join us in celebrating the heritage of our county and to actively participate in efforts to preserve, protect, and promote our historic treasures. this date, May 6, 2025.
Good morning. I'm Carly Malpe with the Department of Land Use and Growth Management. I'm the staff liaison for the Historic Preservation Commission, and I just wanted to say thank you to the commissioners for recognizing this month.
Hi, I'm Gabby Gleisner. I'm a senior planning specialist for Land Use and Growth Management.
Gwen Bykins, President, Historic Society Board of Trustees, and I encourage each and every one of you to get in touch with those historic treasures that we have here in the county. We're the mother county, but also remember the country's 250, we will be 400, and Historic Society has structures over 300 years. Learn our community and embrace it. We are a national heritage area.
Nancy Easterling, also from Historic Sauterley. It is an honor to keep the stories of our past alive for people. We learn from the past to understand our present, and it's an honor to do that. And commissioners, thank you for recognizing how important the preservation of place and of stories are.
I'm Terry Wilson, a member of the Historic Commission, and have been advocating for preserving the history of St. Mary's County for about 25 years now.
Hello, my name is April Yates, and I am also a part of the Historic Commission. I'm new to the commission, but I was born and raised in St. Mary's County, and a lot of the history here is important to me and my family. And I think we should all invest, especially those who have lived here for years, invest in making sure that we preserve our county.
Hi, I'm Courtney Jenkins. I'm with the Department of Land Use and Growth Management. Just want to say thank you to the commissioners for recognizing historic preservation, and thank you to our staff and our Historic Preservation Commission and other members of our community who help protect our history. So thank you.
Okay, now we all need to look good and smile and get a good picture here.
Good morning. We are here to present the 2025 Historic Preservation Awards. The first Preservation Service Award will be awarded to Donald M. Barber and David G. Brown, who are the authors of The Barber Family from Slavery Through Segregation and the Civil Rights Movement, which tells the story of 4 generations of an African American family in St. Mary's County. It documents how one family, against their challenges with post-Civil War economic decline and racism in St. Mary's County, successfully struggled for more self-reliant, prosperous, fulfilling, and dignified lives. Our next awards are Lifetime Achievement Awards. The first award is for Bob Krickenberger, who has dedicated his life to preserving and teaching the American Civil War history at Point Lookout State Park. He led a group of dedicated volunteers in these restoration efforts to clear the grounds in and around Fort No. 3. and has reconstructed 4 buildings. Bob partially rebuilt a section of the Camp Hoffman prison pen entrance and continues to conduct living history programs to share the history with generations of visitors.
Would you like to do a photo with your team? Let's do it. You can go on that.
The last Lifetime Achievement and Historic Awards goes to Nancy Easterling, who has led Historic Sodderly on a transformative journey to become the vibrant cornerstone of St. Mary's County, where history is being preserved for generations to come, look, and learn. She facilitated the holistic interpretation of Sodderly's history, particularly concerning the realities of slavery and its legacy, to ensure that the stories of all people who lived at Sodderly are told. In 2019, Historic Sodderly was designated as a UNESCO Site of Memory for the Route of the Enslaved Peoples Project. Nancy leads initiatives that provide educational and cultural resources to facilitate conversation about Sodderly's complex history, race relations, and the journey towards healing and reconciliation, often featuring speakers and partnerships with other organizations.
Sure. Would you?
Oh, and I think we can. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's all I was going to say.
Okay, next on our main agenda here, we have the Department of Emergency Services 2024 LoSAP Appeals, presented by Ms. Jennifer Utz, our Director of Emergency Services.
morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Myself together, Commissioners.
You got it.
So the Volunteer Fire Rescue Service Awards Program, the LoSAP program, first and foremost, I must acknowledge an error in my memo. It speaks of the business meeting on 3/11/24, but it was 3/11/25 when Catherine presented the 2024 eligibility list. So that is acknowledged, an error in my memo. But the 2024 LoSAP list was presented and acknowledged, approved on 3/11/2025. County Code directs the approved list to be posted in the respective fire departments and rescue squads for a period of no less than 30 days. And so that range was anywhere from March 31st through April 7th, depending on when the independent department posted the list for review. The code further permits that any person who did not appear on the list or who was denied credit to appeal may appeal that to the commissioners. They can do so in writing, or they may do so by requesting a public hearing. To help expedite the process for the volunteers this year, we created a form with the assistance of legal, sent it out to each of the respective departments. 19 total members submitted the form. Their companies certified, provided the backup data for the certification, the credits. Every one of them elected to just present it to you in writing. We have all the backup data in emergency services. We'll forward that to Catherine for Human Resources. And then we met, myself and Kirsten met with the LoSAP board on April 25th, who at that time the executive committee, LoSAP executive committee, confirmed and approved 19 additional names to add to the 2024 eligibility list. So today we're coming before you to ask request that you certify 19 additional names to the 2024 list.
Tell me, how does this list get developed, or how do 19 people get missed? I'm not, look, I just don't know. So what happens is someone goes on a call, I guess they get back, they fill out some kind of a log, I would assume, or whoever the supervisor would fill out the log, and then that's certified somehow, and at the end of the year, how would 19 people get missed?
I'll yield to Kirsten, but I think each department uses a different reporting software.
Oh, is that right?
Fire and rescue.
And there's some complexity because some of the volunteers are members of different departments, so trying to ensure that all the different times carry across. So the individual departments have individual LoSAP coordinators. They collect the information. That information gets on a master spreadsheet from each department, and then that goes to the LoSAP executive committee. Typically in January, the end of January, they have to present that. The LoSAP executive committee reviews everything, and then they submit the final list that goes to Catherine and the HR department for approval.
Well, how would someone find, I mean, is it reasonable to think that there's a list put up in the firehouse or the rescue squad, and someone looks on there and says, my name's on there, my name's not there?
So a lot of the departments throughout the year will have the LoSAP available on their software, their Firehouse Solutions web pages where they can review.
Yeah.
And then this process, the actual list has to be posted within the station, so the member can come in, and then in this case, their name was not on the list, so then that's the formal appeal process following the code that brought us here today.
Well, we'll be entertaining the LoSAP Plus and next agenda item. So do you see this happening as a result? Has this been happening before? Is this new, or is this just an aberration?
So it has happened in the past. I think the volunteer incentive program that we'll talk about next has maybe brought some more awareness, right? Brought more awareness to it, right? But in the past, the LoSAP committee, we talked to them about this. We go right to the county code to make sure we're following the code. But in the past, when a person has been missed on the list, they told us that they would, just in the next year, they would add that person to the list in retrospect. But we prefer that they follow the code. And in speaking with Catherine, there's no way that Catherine would know that that person had a year added without going through 835 or 963 entries independently to see the years added. So the value is going to be in a reporting software, I think.
Well, I guess my thought process is it sounds like it's a process issue. And is there a way to make it the same all the way across? So you don't have this discrepancy of, let's not, Kirsten, I know you were involved with this LoSAP Plus program, and the reporting was kind of all over the board, and you had to figure it out. It just seems like if it was more uniform, it would be easier to figure out, so that might be something we want to look into.
Would be helpful for all of us, I think, if it was uniform, certainly.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Entertain a motion?
I move to approve the 19 additional fire and EMS volunteers, adding them to the 2024 certified LoSAP list.
Second. I have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have the Department of Emergency Services decision on active volunteer firefighting and rescue squad response rewards program. Ms. Jennifer Utz is Director of Emergency Services presenting.
All right. So the active volunteer firefighting and rescue squad response rewards program. That's a lot to say. A public hearing was held on April 22nd, 2025 at the Leonardtown High School. There were 3 speakers present, all in support. One is a representative of the Emergency Services Board, one representing the Rescue Squad Association, and one member from the community. In addition, we received 1 email from a member of the Lexington Park Volunteer Rescue Squad who was also in favor, citing financial commitment by our volunteers in the form of food, fuel, clothing, and other things that they put forward of their own money for in order to volunteer. With the help of our partners in information technology, they developed a VIP portal for the volunteers to begin uploading their information to declare whether they would like to declare a property tax incentive or the stipend, so we could prepare some ballpark numbers for you for today. We had IT cut off that portal on April 28th at 4 p.m. so we could do some data gathering. And we did a primary and secondary scrub of that list. There were 835 submissions at the time we cut the portal off. There's still 135 incomplete or people who did not submit. And of course, there's 19 appeals that we were bringing forth today. At present, we're sitting around with the submissions, there's $1.33 million in submissions, whether it's a tax credit or it is a stipend. It's broken down for you further for review. The incomplete submissions is a total of 149,000, and the approval of the 19 appeals, if those members get on and submit, is another 23,000. So the program is not expected to exceed the $1.6 million that we talked about initially.
Good.
So if we'll have to check with the treasurer. Today was sort of the cutoff for submitting and having everything teed up to put in, but with having to open the portal back up for appeals for those 19 members may also be maybe a small window for anybody who hasn't put in yet to also put in. We had a couple late submissions. People say they were out of town, out of the country. Could they still submit? We've held them for now because the portal closed to allow us to do the data collection and gathering for the, for the financial crunch here. So at any rate, we do have some additional review to do. We have to accept or reject each one of those 835 independently. And so there's more work to do on the back end of the portal, but it's all based on, of course, the decision of this commissioner body where we go from here. Certainly, Emergency Services supports, volunteerism in St. Mary's County. We just wait your decision.
So, first off, observation. I think you said there was 3 people who spoke and 1 email that was received.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also important to note there was a substantial group of our volunteers who showed up at the public hearing in support. And it was very impressive. And it was impressive that they allowed 3 people to represent the entire group versus everyone standing up to speak. That was appreciated, but the message was well received. It's a good program. It's exciting to do it. Do you have enough turnaround time to get this all processed?
It's a matter of going, we spent literally days. Kirsten did first review. I think it took her 2 days to go through every record, and I did second round review, which was not quite as long, but almost as long. Now it's working with IT to formalize a response to them. So there are ones we'll reject for various reasons. People claim their property tax, but can't. So that will get rejected, and the person will have to either go back in and claim a stipend, or whether we'll just convert it to a stipend. That's for Mr. Kelly and I to talk about, or how that'll work. So that turnaround time is dependent on how fast we can clean up the data in the background, set up the responses, and click buttons, honestly, but accurately.
And assuming pretty confidently we're going to approve this today, when would people expect to see the stipend if they opted for the stipend?
Not until July. The state tax data has to be imported at the end of June, I believe, was what the treasurer told us. So, but she needs her data in. This May 6th was the original date that she told us, so she could start processing everything on her end. But we do have an inquiry into her as far as the hard deadline for data entry for her to turn around hers. But June 30th, I believe, is the state data that comes into the portal. And then, so I wouldn't think before July at the earliest, maybe even August. It just depends on how long it takes for finance to turn around. I can't answer for finance.
I did speak with Ms. Kelly, the treasurer, and she said that if she gets the data, now she initially told me June 1st, but then I guess she had to back that up. But I want to thank IT department for coming up with the portal, because that seems to have made it a lot quicker. But it seems like it will be, our tax bill is generated, and property tax bill is generated in July, payable at the end of September. So that should be included by then. Now tell me, you said there's what, 122 or something like that didn't, how many didn't get back in?
125 that have not yet submitted.
Okay, well, the deal is, if you don't come in, you don't get it, you lose. So that, look, try and do the best we can, but you got to help yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the first year. I use the term, it's kind of a pilot, see how it goes. We'll know we're going to have wrinkles here and there. We're just going to have to work with them the best we can. Hopefully, somebody's not too disappointed if they were left out.
Understood.
Yeah. With that said, I'm going to move to approve the establishment of the Active Volunteer Firefighting and Rescue Squad Response Rewards Program in St. Mary's County.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any disapproval? Ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Look, and before you leave,
Yes, sir.
both you ladies, thank you for what you did. Look, I know I shouldn't say but there was a lot of work done on this, and you guys did the lion's share of it.
Appreciate it. Thank
Great
you.
job.
Director Otts, before you leave, something related. How are things going with the communications with MIFRE and training down here?
So I have not heard anything. I have I received an email from the new or the acting coordinator. I have reached out twice to him to set up a meeting. I have not had a meeting myself with him, but I have not heard any negative feedback from fire or rescue at this point, or any feedback, so I assume no feedback is good.
What I've gotten so far is that communication is opening up a little bit, but the training still is slow coming down the pipe. And I talked to 7th District and Hollywood so far about that.
Okay.
And both of them said pretty much the same thing. The communication has gotten better with them, but as far as getting the actual training, something different. I know we're talking about standing up our actual training down here, which will help a lot, and that's what I was wondering where we were going with that.
Yeah, I have 2 communications in with the regional, and I'll follow up again, and then 2 communications out with MIFRE headquarters, and those have been misses as well, but I'll follow up with that as well. So I'm still waiting on follow-up from the headquarters as well.
Okay, good. Thank you very
Very
much.
good.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Thank you. Okay, next we go right into County Administrator time. Mr. Weiskopf.
Thank you, Commissioner President Guy, and as always, we'll start with the draft agendas for May 13th and May 20th. On May 13th, you'll start at your normal time and place, followed by 4 proclamations, one for Lyme Disease Awareness Month, Stroke Awareness Month, National Skilled Nursing Care Week, and Older Americans Month, followed by 2 decisions, one for the golf cart ordinance and one for Zone 24-40 Goddard Road. followed by county administrator time, commissioner time, adjourn, have the St. Mary's Chamber of Commerce Business Awards Luncheon at 11:30, and then a 1:30 budget work session. On May 20th, you'll start at your normal time and place with a joint meeting of the Metropolitan Commission, and that will be held here, followed by adjourning that, starting the regular meeting at 11 with 5 proclamations: Mental Health Awareness Month, National Drug Court Month, National Emergency Medical Services Week, National Transportation Week, National Public Works Week, followed by the Department of Land Use and Growth Management request for a public hearing for Zone 24-413, Pax River Village Center Zoning Map Amendment and Comprehensive Plan Amendment, followed by County Administrator time, legislative session wrap-up, followed by Commissioners time, and then adjourn. And the first thing on the agenda today, I believe, is for the Circuit Court for St. Mary's County. Renovate Circuit Courthouse to accommodate 5th Courtroom, and Administrative Judge Joseph Stanalonis.
Is it the 5th courtroom or the 4th courtroom?
I'm sorry?
Did you say the 5th courtroom or the 4th courtroom?
Yes, but they would need they want to renovate the master's courtroom, which would be the 4th, and then the master would need another room.
Okay,
so that would be
the
5.
Current, or the 2 plus what you have now plus the master, and then this will be 4th plus the master.
Correct.
Got it.
Good morning, Judge Stanalonis.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, sir.
And that's why the 4th courtroom would be such an easy lift, because it was built for that, and the master is using it now. And obviously, the only thing that would be needed, I think, is jury box.
Commissioners, before I start, I asked if they would play a brief clip from the Chief Justice who presented this request to the legislature 4 different times, twice in the Senate, twice in the House, as well as I spoke on each of those 4 occasions. And I thought maybe hearing from him the judiciary's perspective as to why St. Mary's County is in need of a 4th judge might help to lay the foundation for why I'm here today. So if you would indulge me to listen to his remarks to one of the Senate committees first, and then I'll speak afterwards.
Okay, you can. Okay, you can move to your recommendations if you're ready.
Could we have increased sound from the back, please?
Are we also talking about challenges with DSS across the board?
We are.
Okay, all right. Okay, you can move to your recommendations if you're ready.
Yes. So for recommendation number 1, which is to abolish 5 of the newly requested positions, 3 that all relate to a proposed new judgeship in St. Mary's County, and 2 that are for new district court case managers. We accept the recommendation with respect to the 2 case managers in acknowledgement of the state's fiscal constraints. We would request, as is suggested there, the ability to reallocate those costs. We respectfully disagree with respect to the 3 new positions in St. Mary's County that all relate to really the quest for a single new judge. In addition to each judge, that comes along with a law clerk and a courtroom clerk. So they're really all related to that specific request. The judiciary has traditionally asked the General Assembly to authorize new judgeships only when the methodology that we have long employed, which is based on a model provided by the National Center for State Courts, certifies a need to do so. That methodology is based on an assessment of how long it takes to handle different types of cases on average across the state. So it's not jurisdiction specific, it's on average across the state. And it's based on the number of cases in those types that have been filed across the state over the prior 3 years, in this case, the prior 3 years that have been unaffected by COVID. We're currently using a model that it was completed in 2017 for that purpose. There was a partial update in 2022, but the last full update was in 2017. This year, that assessment certified a need for 4 new judgeships across the state. For a variety of reasons, including lack of space and fiscal considerations, we did not request a new judgeship in any of those 4 jurisdictions. 4 other jurisdictions reached out requesting that we request an additional judgeship in each of them, notwithstanding that the model did not certify that need. In 3 of those jurisdictions, we are not making a request for a new judgeship. I will say that each of those jurisdictions made a good case for needing additional resources, but the bar for us to make a request for a new judgeship where the model didn't support it is extraordinarily high in order that we maintain credibility with you by adhering to our rigorous methodology. Given the cases that those other jurisdictions made for needing new judges, we are accelerating the process of updating our model to ensure that it does accurately reflect need, but we haven't come to you with those 3 requests, notwithstanding the request by those jurisdictions. The Circuit Court for St. Mary's County cleared our high bar because there have been demonstrable changes in that court's workload that we know are not accounted for in our model. Although many of our jurisdictions are only now returning to the same caseload numbers they had before the pandemic, St. Mary's has increased caseloads. Most significantly, its contested criminal jury trials have increased. They are 261% higher for calendar year 2024 than in calendar year 2019. That's particularly significant because the model that we employ to analyze the need for new judgeships doesn't account for what happens to cases after they're filed. It's based on filings. So if that jurisdiction experiences a very significant difference in what happens to those filings after they're made, we know that's not accounted for in our model. So that 261% increase in jury trials, notwithstanding that there's actually been a decrease in criminal filings, is very significant and not accounted for in the model. St. Mary's County has also seen a 62% increase over that same period in family law merits hearings. The number of family law cases that actually go to hearings before a judge than they did in calendar year 2019. It's obviously when something goes to a jury trial or a merits hearing, it takes a lot more time than a case that is resolved by a settlement or a plea agreement. And we know, based on the model that we use, that those things are not accounted for in the model. So I wanted to explain why this is an unusual case, because it is based on factors that we know are not accounted for in that model. And in spite of the court's efforts to address that backlog, those changes have not allowed the court to do so. And we do have here Judge Stanilonis, the administrative judge of that court. I did want to make one clarification. Mr. Polikov is right that there are currently only 2 judges in St. Mary's County, but there actually should be 3. One of those positions is vacant. So this is actually a request to move from 3 to 4 judgeships in St. Mary's County. There already are 3 judgeships, even though there are currently only 2 judges. We had a sudden and unexpected death of the prior administrative judge, Michael Stamm, last year, and that vacant position is currently in the process of being filled. But this would increase from 3 to 4 the judges in St. Mary's County. And I'd ask Judge Stanilonis to just say a little bit more briefly about the issues they're experiencing with the workload.
All right, so as you heard, we did make the request. As I told you all earlier this year, the request for a 4th judge was already in the works with Judge Stamm before he passed away. We were working on making that presentation to the judiciary, and when he passed away, that task fell with me, and I reached out to the judiciary in the form of a letter explaining the circumstances here in St. Mary's, explaining why I believed we needed a 4th judge. And as you heard the Chief Justice indicate, after they reviewed our statistics, our data, and the information that we provided, we were the only jurisdiction in the state that they felt comfortable going forward with that request with the legislature. That request passed the House unanimously, and it died in a Senate committee and was not approved, and my understanding is based on budgetary concerns. The day after the session ended, the Chief Justice called me at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was already sitting at my desk, advised me of what had happened. I already knew. At that time, we had a discussion about whether or not there was something that we could do between now and the next legislative session to try and do as much damage control as we could do. And so I want to just talk briefly about what used to happen before this circumstance versus what currently happens. So for probably almost 2 years now, the 3 judges had agreed to start court at 8:30 in the morning. For those of you who don't know, almost all courtrooms start at 9 o'clock in the morning. They have a lunch recess, they pick up in the afternoon, and they usually finish between 4 and 4:30. It's expected to have approximately 6 hours of court time per day, and then the additional time is used to do research or review motions or sign orders or do basically your paperwork. And in St. Mary's, for almost 2 years now, judges have been starting, and the magistrate have been starting their court at 8:30, and going through lunch many days and staying late many days. And we were doing this because the increase in jury trials, the increase in family merits hearings, we weren't sure if that was just an aberration or if that was a sign of life to come. And it never got any better, and as I sit here today, it's still not better. When I leave here, I'm going to go back to the circuit court, and I'm going to continue with a attempted murder trial that I picked a jury yesterday, and I asked them to come in a little late today so I could be here before you. We had 23 cases scheduled for potential criminal trial this week, and 8 of those cases requested to have their trials, 6 jury trials and 2 court trials. We have 1 judge scheduled for trial this week, 5 days, that's me. And I can't fit 8 trials in 1 week. This is just an example of a typical week in St. Mary's County for the last 2 years. Before the change in state's attorney, we would typically have 2 docket calls, meaning 2 weeks scheduled per month for criminal jury trials. We now have between 3 and 4 scheduled per month. Before the change in state's attorney, we would typically have, in a bad month, you might have 2 jury trials. Most months you would only have 1. Sometimes you wouldn't even have 1. We are averaging 2 to 3 trials per week on the weeks that we have them. So that gives you an idea of the increase in the amount of court time that is spent with criminal cases. The reason why this is most significant is because Maryland has a requirement, the Constitution has a requirement that everyone gets a speedy trial in a criminal case. Maryland has a requirement that those cases be heard within 180 days of their first appearance in court or their entry of appearance of attorney, whichever is earlier. So criminal cases don't suffer. They get set as quickly as we can get them set, and they get scheduled, and we try them. What happens is when somebody has a speedy trial issue, we have to cancel some other courtroom's scheduled case, civil or family, and we have to give that case to that judge in order for that case to get done within the speedy trial requirements. If that's not the case, when we are using all of this court time for the criminal cases, it means that family cases and civil cases are pushed onto the back burner and have to wait for their turn. So what happens is if you have a custody situation where you file a custody case today and you want to get access and visitation to your child because your significant other took the child and isn't letting you see them, if you file it today, because I come in and do these at 8:30 in the morning, we'll get you a scheduling conference in about 45 to 60 days. That's the quickest I can get it done. And once you come in, I'm going to give you a trial date, and the quickest trial date I have right now is December. And I only have 2 days left in December. I have a total of 5 days left in the year, but 3 of them aren't realistic for getting a trial scheduled that quickly because people need time to do discovery and things like that. And those other 3 days are only open because something's settled, and when it's settled, we backfill that with something else so that we can try to keep dockets moving. We schedule 20 or more criminal cases per week. We schedule, on a civil trial week, we schedule 5 to 10 civil trials. Last week there was a civil trial. There was a second one that needed to go. We didn't have a judge available for it. That case has been bumped. In theory, I don't know where it got set, but in theory, the earliest that case is going to get heard is in 2026, unless something opens up between now and then. So if you were in a car accident and you're waiting for some economic relief and you're waiting for your trial date, you're talking about over a year in St. Mary's County before you're going to get your first scheduled trial date, and hopefully it will go on the scheduled date, but it's not guaranteed. If you need help with child support or access and visitation. Right now, we're talking about 7 months before I can get you into court to be able to get access to your child or visitation. I did some rough calculations. 30 minutes a day. That comes out to 124 and a half hours for 249 court days that we have per year. And most of us are doing 30 minutes in the morning and 30 to 60 minutes at lunch and 30 minutes in the evening. But I rounded down just to 3 times that, so that's 372 hours over the course of 249 days. That comes out to about 62 days of extra court time using a 6-hour methodology. Okay, so each judge who is putting in that extra 90 minutes a day is giving you 62 extra days worth of court time that is not built into the calendar. If you add in the magistrate to that, and I do the rough math, it comes out to exactly what we're asking for, which is a 4th judge. Legislature didn't approve the 4th judge. The current use of senior judges is for when we are on vacation, when we are in training, and when we have a conflict and there's no judge in the building who can handle a case. To give you an example, in 2019, I think we used senior judges on about 50 different days during the course of a year. Senior judges can work up to 84 days. If they have their full retirement, they can work up to 84 days and get compensated for those 84 days. So in order for us to use senior judges, it would take 3 senior judges giving us every single day that they're available in order to fill a courtroom for a calendar year, 249 days worth of court time. It's not realistic. It's not going to happen. But the judiciary did indicate that because of our circumstances, if we are granted this request and the additional courtroom is made into the current circuit courthouse, that we will be given permission to use senior judges as much as we can get them scheduled to help alleviate some of this backlog and some of these pressures that are currently on the current court and our community. So I can give you answers to any questions that you have. I'm happy to answer them. I can't stress this enough, but to say to you that this request is to put a tourniquet on a gaping, bleeding wound. It's not going to cure it. It's not going to solve it. It's not going to go away. It's hopefully going to keep us afloat until we come back in front of the legislature whenever the next time we have the opportunity to do that. I agreed to not fill the court administrator position to try and help with the economics of this cost of a renovation. And at least 2 of you, maybe 3 of you, were commissioners when I was deputy state's attorney. I think on 2 different occasions I came before this board and I handed money back because we determined we didn't need it. I have always been extremely frugal with the dollar because I'm a taxpayer just like everyone else, and I don't want to spend a penny more than we need to spend to be able to get our jobs done and to do it hopefully efficiently and effectively. I'm not here asking for a palace. I'm not asking for a new courthouse. Judge Stamm we were planning to go to Howard County to see the newest circuit courthouse in the state because it was his belief that eventually St. Mary's County is going to need a new building. I'm not asking for that. I'm not asking for reclaiming any portion of the courthouse that's not currently available. I went through that building and I tried to figure out exactly what would be the cheapest way to do it. And when the construction people came over, I said, if there's some cheaper way to do it than what I'm suggesting, please do it the cheapest way that we can do it. I'm asking the commissioners to continue to support the request of the circuit court so that we are able to continue to provide for our community. I can give you statistics on increased caseloads. I can give you statistics on whatever you would like. But my hope is that you recognize that it's a problem, it's a big problem, and I need your help.
So, Judge Stanalonis, I was approached over the weekend by an attorney from the community who basically said exactly what you're saying, and I'm not a lawyer. We're surrounded by lawyers here,
Sure.
But they know a lot more about the way the court system works than I do. But like you said, with the criminal trials, there's a window that it has to be heard within. But the civil ones, the other ones, are getting pushed out significantly far, and that's an impact on our citizens, our residents who need those trials in order to move forward, and your request seems very, very reasonable to me.
Thank you.
Judge
Anyone?
Stanalonis, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
No, I've been on record as saying, let's get a third one before we get a fourth one.
Sure.
And my sense of it is it's 8 months now or so since Judge Stamm passed 7 months, whatever. When do we expect to have a replacement? I know you don't have a magic ball or crystal ball, maybe you do, but the key gets to be is this is such a long time in between. And I know we've had visiting judges fill that seat, but when would you expect another judge to be named? The next couple months or so?
When the governor, so there happens to be one of the candidates whose name has been sent to the governor sitting in the room, and I asked her
Yes, we're familiar.
if she has received a call from the governor's office to schedule her interview, and she said no. So until the interviews are scheduled and the governor meets with those individuals, typically the governors make their selection relatively quickly after the interview process happens. When a candidate is selected by the governor, usually within 30 days of that date is when they get sworn in as a judge. And in the 7th Judicial Circuit, which is Prince George's, Calvert, St. Mary's, and Charles, there is a pretty stringent training program that goes on where those new judges sit with other judges and then have other judges sit with them. And it typically takes about 2 months for that to happen, for them to complete the training program. So you're talking about 3 months from whatever day that governor announces the
Could be
name.
October.
Will be probably October. Now, Commissioner Hewitt, you said you've been on record, and I know you've been on record, let's get a third before we worry about a fourth. I can't stress enough that that third courtroom has been full and being used at maximum capacity since Judge Stamm passed away. Yes, there have been some days where we did not have a senior judge to fill that courtroom because I'm doing the best I can to get judges from around the state to come here. Before he passed away, we had 6 judges who would come and sit in St. Mary's County as senior judges. They might sit a couple days a year. They might sit up to 30-some days a year, but we had 6 of them that would regularly appear in St. Mary's County. Since he passed away, we've had 11 who have agreed to come and sit in St. Mary's County. Some of them are driving from north of Baltimore to come sit in our county. So I can't thank them or appreciate them enough, but they have been doing it. And so those cases have been going because they were scheduled long before he passed away. We are scheduled into 2026 already. My January calendar is already booked up. I don't even have a day available in my courtroom for January. So when I say we have 5 days left for a judge in St. Mary's County in this calendar year, it's because our courtrooms are full and they're booked. And this actually is a great week for an example for me, for you, which is this happens to be a week where we have a senior judge for 1 of the 5 days. So we double book and we triple book lots of things, and we put sometimes more than that. The civil and the criminal, you heard me say, we book higher rates than that so that if something falls out, we still are using our court time. This particular week, Thursday and Friday, we have juvenile court scheduled all day on Thursday, and we have a criminal docket call, meaning trials scheduled for next week that have to be dealt with on Friday, and criminal statuses and motions. And right now, I don't have a judge available for either of those dockets. Judge Lorenzini had some time open up on Thursday. She's going to start the juvenile docket at 11 o'clock. And I know, because she has the same work ethic, that she's going to go through that 11 o'clock through the lunch hour, and she's going to do whatever it takes to get that juvenile docket done because I don't have a senior judge. But she's doing double duty that day, right? That's still a docket that was going to be done by a judge that is still going to be done. On Friday, if I'm not done with my criminal jury trials that have to be done this week, I am going to stay as late as it takes to get all the other criminal cases done because they have to get done. So this past Friday, I left work. I didn't leave work. I finished court on the bench at 4:29. I note that because it was the first time in forever on a Friday that I finished before 4:30. There have been days where we have been going till 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and nobody likes to work late, and nobody likes to work late on a Friday. And I feel bad because it's my decision to make to whether to do that or not. But it impacts a lot of other people. It impacts the bailiffs. It impacts the clerks. It impacts all of the people who have to appear in that courtroom. And you want to talk about seeing an angry bunch of people be there at 6 o'clock on a Friday when people are still waiting for their court case to be done. But if I don't do it, whatever was scheduled on Monday is going to get bumped, and I'm going to be telling them December. So I appreciate that you want that third judge. I want it more than you want it, right? I want somebody in there because it helps, because senior judges do as much as they can do, but I'm not asking a senior judge to come in at 8:30. I'm not asking a senior judge to work through their lunch, and I'm not expecting a senior judge to work late, right? I can't expect that. They're retired, right? They're helping me out. So if I ask them to do that, they do it, but I try not to ask them to do it because I don't think it's fair. But that courtroom has been functioning at full capacity for this entire time. We don't have a body there, but we've had a courtroom working. So this request has nothing to do with Judge Stamm passing away. It's unfortunate because I know lots of people think, oh, well, if you get that third judge, that'll fix it. It's not going to fix it. It's just going to give us a person who's full-time in the building that I can ask, will you please come in early? Will you work through your lunch a little bit? And will you stay late?
Judge Stenlos, let me right up front tell you, I've learned from a very smart lawyer, John Sterling Hauser, not to argue with the judge.
You can. I'm okay with it. I appreciate it.
So my point to you, sir, is not to argue with you. I see your need, and I'm not trying to say you don't need it. Now, you've talked about this happening in the last 2 years, so something beyond your control has caused this. The first thing is that the governor hasn't given us a new judge yet. The second thing is the Judiciary Committee or whatever happened in the Senate didn't approve the position. So that puts us down here. I'm kind of a guy that wants to see the position approved before I go approving one. Look, and don't respond to these comments, please, because I don't want to upset you.
You're not upsetting me.
If you're having trouble getting a part-time judge for a third courtroom, it seems like you're going to have a tougher time getting part-time judges for a fourth courtroom. So that's just an observation on this commissioner's part. Now, the next thing gets to be, we talk about things beyond your control at the state level, whether it be the governor, whether it be the Senate, whether it be whatever happens up there in the legislature. But the local level, you talked about a 261% increase in the past couple of years. Now, that concerns me when I hear a number that high, because as a resident of this county for 63 years, I don't really see crime up 261%. Do you see, I mean, I know there's shootings, we read about them all the time, but do you see crime being up? If I was someone wanting to move here, if I was someone living here and wondering, do I want to stay, I would say with crime like 261%, that is just a bad aura to put out there to people to say, this crime is out of control. Do you believe that's the case?
So I'm not going to say crime is up 261% because I don't believe that to be true.
Okay.
The number of trials, the percentage of cases going to trial is up 261%. So to just give you some quick numbers, in 2019, in the circuit court, there were 464 criminal cases filed. That's either jury trial prayers or criminal indictments. In 2022, I skipped the 2 COVID years because we're not using that at the state level or here. In 2022, that number had gone up to 555. In 2023, it dipped to 466. And then in 2024, it went back to 520. It's currently, as of April 30th, at 195. If that keeps at the same pace, your end of year number is going to be 576. I don't know that that's a real projection because numbers can fluctuate, but that's based on what's been filed for the first 4 months of this year. So the jury trials are up. The criminal cases as a whole are not up dramatically. They're up a little bit, but some of those are jury trial prayers. If a case is in the district court where it probably should be and they don't work it out and the person says, I want to have a jury trial, it comes to the circuit court and it then has the potential to be tried. If there's a shooting or some major case, it has the potential to be tried. The state's attorney gets to make the decision about whether or not to have a trial or not have a trial. That's not up to the court, right? And by that I mean is ultimately the defendant that makes the decision about whether to have a trial, but the state's attorney has a lot of motivation where they can make plea offers or they can negotiate. And I'm not being critical of the state's attorney. It's her decision as to how to handle each criminal case that comes before her in this jurisdiction. And if she chooses not to make plea offers in the most serious cases or in lots of cases and just says, I want to have a trial, that's her decision to make. But I still have to provide a courtroom and a judge to be able to litigate those cases. And so I can tell you, I sit in that courtroom, and in half the cases, they negotiate some kind of resolution of the case. And in a portion of those cases, they do not. And I hear it over and over again. No plea offer was made, or the plea offer was plead to the top charge and leave sentencing up to the judge. And I never was a defense attorney, but I don't know a defense attorney who would advise their client necessarily to take that agreement. You have nothing to lose by having a trial if the plea offer is plead to the maximum penalty. So that's why there's more trials. And so the trials are taking up the time, and that's what's burning us up our court time. And again, I don't see that changing. It hasn't changed. And this week is a prime example. 23 cases, and 8 of them want to have a trial. And if they're one-day trials, you can do the math. I only have 5 days in a week with one judge, right? And they're not one-day trials, right? I have a 1 day, I have a half day, and they agreed to do a court trial. All the rest were 2 days or 3 days or 4 days. So crime, I don't think, is up, but life in St. Mary's has changed. And
right. Well, again, elections have consequences.
Yeah.
So a constituent has reached out to me whose family member is going through the court processing and has a defense attorney and can't get a call back from the state's attorney. They've called multiple times. It's concerning to the public when they don't believe they can get some kind. They have to go before a judge to actually see the state's attorney. So that's one thing. But tell me on another topic. This family law is up 62%.
That's the trials.
Okay, now is that we used to have a magistrate and we
So we
changed.
still have a magistrate, and the magistrate still handles a full caseload and does try to work out cases. The issue with magistrates are that if the case is supposed to be 3 hours or more, it's supposed to go to a judge because anybody can file exceptions to whatever decision the magistrate makes. And so it would force people, if you were the losing party, you could just say, I'm unhappy with the magistrate and I file exceptions and I want to start over again with a judge. So it costs a lot more money for parties who are litigating cases. So a lot of the actual contested trials, if they're longer than, we use a half day. I use, in my mind, 4 hours. So if they tell me they can get it done in 4 hours or less, I make them go in front of the magistrate so that we can try to save the court time for the longer cases. So the longer cases, it could be a day, 2 days. I had one, I started it in September. I did 2 days of testimony in September. I did 2 days of testimony in February, and I did 2 days of testimony in March, and I finished the case in March. That was 6 days on a family case stretched out from September to March. I think I took 100 pages of notes in order to be able to remember what I heard in September to be able to apply it to my decision in March. That's not ideal. That's not the preferred method. What you would like to do is start your trial on a Monday and finish it that week, or go consecutive days. But with the family cases, if the lawyers estimate, hey, we think it's going to take 2 days to try it, and we don't finish it in 2 days, we have to figure out where to finish it, and I can't bump a criminal case for a family case, so that's why they get bumped out like that. So that's why those case numbers, it's just people electing to have a trial as opposed to trying to resolve it. We do still have a lot of cases resolved. Family cases, the filings are, I'm going to say, consistent over the 5 years. Somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 cases are filed in family court each year. And again, it could be that there are certain attorneys who are more litigious. It could be that they just feel like they're getting better outcomes when they try it in front of a judge. I don't know the answer to why there's more, but we are using the magistrate to full capacity. We are in the process of trying to use senior judges to do mediation to try and assist with resolving some of those cases. We already have a plethora of services available for litigants to use, free mediation, counseling, therapy, all kinds of things that we're using to try and help parties work out cases. We're a litigious society, and when people in these family cases feel aggrieved, sometimes they can't work it out amongst themselves, and it just requires the court to intervene and help them to figure out what is in the best interest of their kids.
All right, well, thank you. And then let me get to my last part.
Yes, sir.
Budget. Now, you're going to need renovations,
Yes.
and that seems to be pretty reasonable.
Yes.
What about security? You're going to need 2 police officers? You're
So-
going to need a bailiff? I mean, does that?
So I did request not to have the administrative assistant. I'm not giving a senior judge position a secretary or a legal assistant. So I'm not asking for that. I am asking for some additional funds for bailiff so that we have the ability to have a bailiff in the 5th courtroom. And they get paid a set rate per day. So I don't know what I think the estimate was $27,000 for the course of a year for a bailiff. That number will not be quite that high because the bailiff for the 5th courtroom is not going to be, I don't expect it to be every day. You're right. I can't fill that. If I could fill that courtroom every day, I would. You're right. I can't. If I have 3 judges and a magistrate working full time in their 4 courtrooms, every day I use that 5th courtroom is a bonus day. It's an extra day where something can be resolved with a senior judge. And if I only got the 50 days that I got in 2022, that would be 50 days more than I currently have available. I think I can get a lot more than that because one of our local senior judges, he can work, I think, 105 days a year. And I think he'd be very happy to sit in St. Mary's County and do cases for that. So I think I'll fill that courtroom probably half the time or more. So I would request a bailiff. As far as security, I talked to the head of security. I don't speak for the sheriff. I know that the judiciary wants 1 law enforcement officer in each courtroom during court session. So that would be an increase of 1 person. They currently have a couple vacancies, but my belief is if they filled their vacancies, they have currently the sufficient staff for the current courthouse. To me, it's the addition of 1 additional security person to cover that extra courtroom. Again, I can't speak for them. I can tell you this, at the judicial conference last week, security was one of the topics that was discussed. There was 360 some judges in the room, and the question was asked about how many judges have courtrooms that don't have a security person in the courtroom during court. And to my shock, there were probably 40 or 50 hands that went up in that room because in some of the larger jurisdictions, they don't have enough people to cover all of their courtrooms. So in family cases, they elect not to put a armed security person in the courtroom during a family case. The interesting side note of that, Commissioner Hewitt, is that statistically, violence in the courtrooms or based on court proceedings, about 60% of all violence comes from family cases, not from criminal cases. So it was sort of shocking to me, and I think a lot of other judges, that there are courtrooms in the state that don't have a security person in it. I'm not going to advocate for us not to have the 1 extra security person to cover that courtroom because I think that would be foolish of me not to do that. But I don't think the sheriff probably has valid reasons if he's asking for something more than that, and I'm not going to speak for the sheriff or downplay what the sheriff is saying. All I can say is I think our building is very secure. I feel very comfortable in my courtroom at all times, and I don't have any concern for the security of our building with the current staffing that's there. I know they're using officers to fill those vacant positions, so there's constantly officers coming in who are working off the road or wherever, and I know that's a hardship for the sheriff, but he does have, I think, 2 vacant spots that if they were filled, he would be at capacity for our current need. So to me, it's an addition of somebody to cover that extra courtroom.
Okay. Well, Judge Stanilis, thank you for answering my questions. I will let you know if a motion is made. I will vote
I
for
appreciate that.
improvement.
Any other questions from anybody?
Judge, quick question back to to the logistics. So right now, you currently have 11 senior judges at your
Working.
I won't say disposal, but it sounds pretty
Yes,
rude.
11 of them have agreed to come to St. Mary's. Anywhere from, I looked at the calendar, one of them is only scheduled for 1 day, but anywhere from 1 day to 92 days.
So is there an appetite for these senior judges to form them to come down to and sit?
So Before Judge Stamm passed away, the judges who came here typically were either friends of Judge Stamm that had agreed to come down and help out, or they had some connection to Southern Maryland and they were willing to drive down to the county. Of the current group, a lot of the judges who added themselves to the list, I think were sympathetic to our cause, and also maybe were friends of or sympathetic to Judge Stamm's passing and agreed to fill in for those days. I would say 5 or 6 of them are Anne Arundel, Prince George's, or south, and then the rest of them are coming from farther away, Montgomery County or other places, and are willing to come and fill in whenever they can. To give you an example, Judge Wallace is serving as a United Nations judge. He had a 45-day or 60-day respite where he's here. He owns a home in Colton's Point, and he reached out by email to all 4 of the 7th Circuit counties and said, I'm here for 2 months if anybody wants to use me. And I immediately reached out and said, you are currently living in St. Mary's County, and we absolutely could use you, and he gave us as many days as he could give us, right? Now, he's only here for a brief window of 60 days, so that will close, but he gave it to us, so.
So theoretically, I guess if you get this 5th courtroom, you can keep it stocked every day, basically.
I think we're going to have it stocked significantly.
Because I also had that same attorney talk to me this past weekend and brought up that 62% increase in family law, and I can sympathize and understand how important adjudicating those cases can be, but that 261% increase in jury trials is a wild number when on the face.
In the old
days,
days,
there be any balance given towards one or the other, or just to get the workload down as quickly as possible?
So if we get that courtroom up and operational, my intention is, so moving forward, I'm trying to schedule where criminal juries, civil juries, and family cases are all happening at the same time, double booking and triple booking the family cases, double and triple and quadruple booking the civil cases, and then the normal caseload for criminal. And my hope is that if cases settle in one courtroom, that judge will be available to pick up the overflow from the other courtroom, and vice versa. We all will help each other out to cover what needs to be covered. So, for example, last week, there was 2 civil cases that had to go. Had we had this availability of an extra courtroom, that judge would have taken that extra civil case. We would have gotten that case off the books and done. This week, right now, if I had that extra courtroom, I could have scheduled 2 or 3 of these 8 cases in front of that judge for resolution, right? There was a 2-day, there was another 2-day, and then there was a 1-day and a half day, right? So it's like a puzzle. I just put it together and say, okay, start Monday, do this trial for 2 days, start Wednesday, do this trial for 2 days, and on Friday do the 1 day, right? That's how I operate in my courtroom, and I just fill every day and keep going until I run out of days, and then we start again the next week.
So I can appreciate how trials can go off the rails, basically.
They do.
Because I sat one time in front of Judge Raley, and when he said, "Oh, this is going to be a 3-hour trial, no problem." 3 days later, we finally finished, and it was a family law trial at that.
We do our best to predict.
So just to clarify.
Yes, sir.
So I have a real understanding of it. Technically, you are down to 2 judges, but however, you are running with the assistance of senior judges coming in just as if you had 3 judges. So
That's
there
correct.
has been no drop off in the amount of judges that you have.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is solely due, the need for this 4th judge is solely due to this huge increase, 261% higher in jury trials.
That and the family increase of 63%.
63%. And this is all in the last 2 years.
That's the numbers for the last 2 years, yes. And Commissioner Ostro, since Judge Stamm passed away, there's been 137 court days. That's as of April 30th. We used visiting judges for 93 of those days, okay? Judge Stamm, I think, had a week that was already scheduled for vacation in there, so that week didn't go. And Judge Lorenzini and I have done many, many double book days where we have been squeezing in all the extra stuff into those extra
Fill
time.
that gap.
All right, well, I move to approve the request to transfer $217,000 from the St. Mary's County Capital Reserve with the understanding that the $113,000 of operating salary savings will revert to fund balance at fiscal year end, so the effective additional need is $104,000 to add a 5th courtroom to the existing Circuit Courthouse building and renovations to Courtroom 4 for additional office space, and authorize the Commissioner President to sign all related documents.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Judge Tanalonis.
Thank you, Judge. Next up, from the Department of Information Technology, a budget amendment to request transfer of funds to Commissioner Emergency Reserve and IT electronic reference for RecTrack software. Director Bob Kelly. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kelly.
How are you today? So, Commissioners, a little bit of background, but I am before you today requesting approval for authorization for a budget amendment, and that would allow us to proceed this year to upgrade our existing RecTrack software, which is the software we use in recreation and parks. There's been some discussion about that through the budget process and even prior. The current software, I think, was installed in 2006 or 2007. Although we maintain it, and the vendor, does regular updates and upgrades, I think there's been a significant change in how the internet works, and since that time, and evolution in that software. So we believe, and working with Recreation and Parks, we believe that there's a good opportunity to purchase a replacement software that'll enhance the services to our community. So a little bit of background. How did we get here? So several years ago, so basically we pay an annual fee for the use of our Microsoft Office applications in county government. Several years ago, Microsoft went to a licensing program, basically software as a service. Prior to that, you would buy an office license so people could use Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. And you bought version 7, and you receive the upgrades and updates to that version 7 of that software. But when they came out with version 8 or version 9, you would have to buy anew that version. So about 5 years ago, Microsoft went to this kind of software as a service. So basically, essentially, you're leasing the software. So we pay about $350,000 a year for that agreement. It's a 3-year agreement, and there's really not a lot of room to negotiate. They're Microsoft, and they determine. I mean, in all honesty, So, and that software is used in county government extensively. Everybody uses those applications in county government, and I've been around long enough. I remember before there was a real leader in office applications, when you had conflicting vendors that produce software, and you would type up a document and try to send it to somebody, and they couldn't read it. And so there's a lot of benefits to that. So a couple years ago, we entered into that agreement with Microsoft. We've been paying for that service. By the time we were able to enter into that agreement, however, it was April. And so our fiscal year starts in July. And so we have this big chunk of money that we have to keep and reserve to pay for in April. And that 3-year agreement ended last month. And so what we wanted to do, what it was our desire to do, was to better align the renewal of that software application with our fiscal year, and to get it aligned with an August payment. So although we budgeted this year the $300 and some thousand to pay for maintenance, we negotiated through our vendors with Microsoft a bridge. So about a third of that cost we spent to get us to August. So this is a one-time deal. You can only do this once, right? So that gets us to August, and next year's fiscal maintenance will occur in August with the full and starting a new 3-year agreement with Microsoft. So what that leaves is about slightly over $200,000 in savings, or an expense that we don't have this year. And so what I'm proposing is to use just slightly over $100,000, and so $115,000 to accelerate the replacement for the Recreation and Park software. And there's some significant benefits for that. It gets us started early. It gets us started right now. As a matter of fact, the requisition, if you approve, is in my queue, and as soon as we're done, if you approve it, I'll go process that requisition to make that purchase. We're able to do that because it's on a GSA schedule. Recreation and Parks has reviewed several software applications, and is it okay to say that they're in agreement that this is the software that they're very interested in proceeding with? And so in working with the vendor and doing some scheduling, we believe that we'll be able to go live before the spring, which is the big impact in our community, those spring events that start happening. But most definitely by summer of next year. So we want to utilize, I'm requesting that we utilize some of these savings to accelerate this software upgrade. Kind of aligns better with the operation and the functions of Recreation and Parks. The winter season is kind of, and I don't want to speak for Recreation and Parks, but it's not as intensive as the spring. And so we would be ready, hopefully we would be ready to go live with that spring push and have an upgrade out to our community. Additionally, what that will allow for a discussion this afternoon is that what is in my budget request for next fiscal year for this project can be reduced and taken out. And so that also leaves $100,000 to go into the Commissioner Reserve, because I'm only asking for to reallocate what I need for this project. So that's the request, long and drawn out. $215,000 saved from our Microsoft licensing because we did a bridge to August. Would like to take $115,000 of that to do the Rec and Parks upgrade that we were requesting to perform next year and start that now. And then $100,000 going into the Commissioner Reserve.
Good plan. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much needed.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions. So, is it the current system you're currently using? It's an upgrade of that, like you talked about Microsoft 7. This is like an upgrade of a current system we're using?
No, this is a transition to a new software vendor, Civic Plus.
So it's going to be a whole new system?
Yes.
One thing we've heard from leagues is the scheduling is difficult, that they like to schedule and then they'll find out that's another league, and I hate to say soccer, but that's the one they tend to complain about, has taken up all the fields, and they don't use them on those days. Is that going to change? Is it going to be a more equitable distribution of fields available, and the leagues don't say, and the football people don't say, well, the soccer people, and then the baseball people, and they're all good, all great people. Mr. Bevins, come on up, please. I know you're going to be in.
Yeah, I'm going to defer to the folks in Recs and Parks.
But that's a common complaint we get from coaches and parents, that they get there. And the other common complaint we get is that they're a group, say, from the Lexington Park area, or maybe the Leonardtown area, and now all their games are in Chaptico. So they got to go, all their games, they have to drive 45 whatever minutes to get to wherever they got to go. Is there any realignment that allows leagues or teams in those parts of the counties where, say, Chaptico Park is, where Regional Park is, where Lancaster Park is, that helps make this easier for our parents and our coaches?
Let me answer that in two parts. So where this really helps is mobile friendliness, user friendliness. You're booking a camp, you're buying a ticket to a special event, those kind of complaints, which we do get quite a bit. and staff time that we've been just kind of band-aiding an older system. And Jessica's done a tremendous job looking at what all's out there. And I think she's done 8 or 9 different demos and really done her work. And this would elevate our game in a lot of ways. Specifically to the field usage, that is going to take a change to how we book our fields and having some kind of process so that sports leagues are not overbooking. That can be as simple as a penalty for not using, but it needs a change to the policy. Not a software is not going to fix that.
Okay, but it's a policy that would happen in your office, not ours.
From the day I got here, that was one of the things I realized, that something needed to change within that system, especially if groups are overbooking and not using. So we've done a great job of tracking that. We've got data last fall. We've continued that this spring, and we're currently starting to work on plans that what a future policy would look like on our field usage.
Okay, another question that's come up is I remember we had a Latino American group that used to play at 10 o'clock at night and go to midnight. And that was apparently work for them because they worked in the service industry and they didn't get off work till late. Are you still able to go till midnight? What's the latest you can book a field?
We do have some leagues that are booked later. We've gone a long way with our lights so that the leagues actually control the lights, which is I sat in this room last week and the Rec and Parks Commission said what a difference that makes, and it's been so helpful. Lights aren't on when they're not needed, first of all, but also they can get them on at a time that might, as the year progresses and you get less sunlight and all those type of things. So yes, I think the bulk of what it is, we have set seasons that are very busy, like in the spring when everyone needs to have practices, there's not enough fields to go around. And we have to get through that kind of blip. But through the rest of the year, we have pretty good field usage. And looking at our usage reports, there is times out there. It just might not be the exact time on the weekends that people want.
Have you been able to utilize school fields, say elementary schools, middle schools, high schools? I mean, we partnered on those turf fields at the high schools to allow our recs and parks to use them. Is that happening?
We're using softball fields and baseball at some of the elementary and middle schools. We're in talks now to update and have an agreement on how we cover that. We recently got a complaint about the conditions with benches and things like that. I was out 2 weeks ago. That has been resolved. The benches have been replaced. Field's in good shape, and we're actually working on getting some more flexibility for our staff to get out there during the school day to get work done on those fields, as opposed to trying to come when the school's avoiding when school's in session, which is a pretty long part of the day.
Okay, how can parents and coaches reach out, or who should they reach out to if they have a concern about scheduling or where they have to play their game? A lot of them don't want to say anything because they're afraid they're going to get penalized.
Well, and this is where we work as partners with the leagues. So the leagues know what fields they have and what's available, and they assign which groups to which areas. That is not Parks and
Rec. Those
Recs.
coaches could go through the league administration, who will go to you.
Yep. Now, and we're there to work with them on bigger long-term kind of plans. Like I met with football coaches. I had a meeting last week with them. Jessica and I both did. And they were talking about what would be helpful and where they could use some additional space. And we're looking at making a change. We had previously said that games were not allowed for flag on one field. I think that's something we can accommodate. That'll help quite a bit. That might be one of those parks doesn't have a turf field at all. And, currently one youth football program that never has to cancel because the field's oversaturated. The other two do. So that might be an area we look at investments in the future.
All right, thank you.
Anything else, anybody? Entertain a motion?
I move to approve and authorize the Commissioner President to sign the budget amendment realigning funding from information technology software maintenance to the Commissioner's Emergency Reserve and Information Technologies electronic reference account, allowing the procurement of the software upgrade for recreation and park operations.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Kelly.
Commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And last up for County Administrator time is the Department of Land Use and Growth Management for the Maryland Critical Area Commission Grant for fiscal year 2026. Director, nope. Deputy Director.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Go.
You could pull your mic up a little bit.
Oh, sure. Okay. Good morning. So the Maryland Critical Area Commission awards grants each year to local jurisdictions, and our department has been notified that this year the customary critical area grant will be handled differently this year. So at this time, the department is seeking commissioner approval to apply for a new critical area grant that would award St. Mary's County $25,000 for fiscal year 2026. This request would not impact the department's budget and no local match is required. The one-time grant would be utilized to review the county's existing local critical area program and identify any potential amendments that may be needed.
Where would you see any improvements? Where would you use this money? What would you do with it?
I will defer to our environmental planning division manager, Amanda Yowell.
So a comprehensive review is required on a regular basis. There was a new regulation in place end of last year, I believe, that requires us to do a comprehensive review of our critical area regulations every 10 years. So the purpose of this grant, we've done quite a bit of work. We had about 10 meetings last year working on possible revisions, and the scope of work is pretty accurate for what we have left to do. So this grant would allow us the extra staff time needed to finish that comprehensive review, compare it to the other legal documents that are relevant and make sure there's no inconsistencies, and meet with the Critical Area Commission and work through any other issues that might be outstanding so we can review any possible amendments.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Sure.
Would you use a consultant, or would you just do this in-house?
We are considering using a consultant. We're also considering just extra staff time to get it over the finish line. So we're considering both options.
I hear from many people who believe critical area regulation is over-regulated, or
Right.
they feel if living in the critical areas, it's over-regulated. And
Right.
I served on that critical area commission for 9 years, and Lord knows, there's a lot of regulation.
There are a lot of things that we can do to have our regulations be less restrictive and still comply with state law. So there would be a lot of benefits potentially to the citizens if we can sort of make those amendments that would actually reduce some of the burden on our citizens.
That would be welcome, I think, by
Yeah, and we
people.
hope to do that.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that's good to hear, because I was worried that what kind of can of worms are we opening by?
Sure.
That sounds good. So I'm going to move to authorize the Department of Land Use and Growth Management to seek a Maryland Critical Area Commission grant for FY 2026 in the amount of $25,000 and authorize the Commissioner President to sign all related documents.
Second.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all.
That's all. Okay, we're going to go right into, quickly, Commissioner's time. We're going to start with Commissioner Hewitt.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner President. Well, I went to the Sheriff's Awards banquet this past week, and I want to give a big shout out to Caden Palmer. I know his parents, Mike and Becky, and they're great people, and their son's just a great young man, and he's really loving this correctional job he has. Hey, look, all those people who got those awards, God bless you. Thank God you're there. Also went Saturday to the Hollywood Volunteer Rescue Squad's Kentucky Derby party. Hey, a lot of fun. It was a big fundraiser at Bowles Farms for the rescue squad, who's doing a renovation of their building, and I wish them luck. They've got a lot on their plate, a lot of work to do. Tonight's a public forum, and as we've heard, there's many issues out there, whether it be the Board of Education's budget or the library's allocation or even this new mental health facility that's proposed for the Charlotte Hall area. Now, people need to understand that when a private individual owns land and wants to do something with that land, it's really not the commissioners that say, oh, no, you can't do that. It's called property rights, and this commissioner is a big believer in property rights. If you have a piece of property and you're allowed to do something, build a house or whatever you're allowed to do by the zoning regulations in place, then you should be allowed to do that. Now, again, you need to make sure you conform with your neighbors. It fits in, it's something that is needed or something that people want in that area. And public opinion is very, very important. It's important to this commissioner, and I will say probably to all commissioners, all people who serve on our planning commissions, our Board of Appeals, on all our commissions. So the need is for public comment, because that can influence a decision on where something goes. There'll be 3 opportunities potentially for the mental health facility in Charlotte Hall. One will be tonight at our public forum. Commissioners are glad to hear from you. But understand, this is a state initiative, and it's being pushed by private individuals who own property and have property rights. We're not saying we agree with it. Honestly, this commissioner does not agree with it. It's not the right location for it. By that VA facility down there on Route 5 in Charlotte Hall would have been a far better location, but it's not our decision. It's not a commissioner's decision. It's a Board of Appeals and a Planning Commission decision, and it could ultimately go to the state court system for a judge to decide. But the key is, if you don't want it near you, show up and tell us. Email us. Somehow communicate that this is not something that you'd like to see in your neighborhood. Mental health is something that's desperately needed. Lord knows we hear enough about it all the time that people are suffering from mental health. So we want to do everything we can to help those people. But let's make sure we do it in the right place. This afternoon, we have our budget work session. This is going to be an important one. We found out that we have probably about $3.7 million now to redistribute to different agencies, groups, elected officials, Board of Education, whoever we decide. But it's going to be an important public budget work session. Please tune in or attend if you can. I appreciate all public involvement and input. Thank you.
Mr. Colvin.
Very good. Well, I'll be brief this morning, but we have a busy day ahead of us today. Done a lot of good stuff. This morning we approved the Active Volunteer Firefighting and Rescue Squad Response Rewards Program, also known as LOSAP Plus, and that's a good program, and it's exciting that we're finally able to do something like this to support our volunteers, and hopefully we'll see some good results from it too, but it's a good program. There's been a lot of talk, especially on social media, about this Pascal Crisis Center in Charlotte Hall that's potentially going in Charlotte Hall, and what's good to me is that none of the talk that I've seen is saying that there isn't a need for mental health. So everyone's acknowledging that. This is a center that would help people who are in crisis, and that's a good thing. There's plenty of opportunities to ensure that the community's desires are met, and I'm sure we can find some creative solutions as this moves through the process, no matter which way it goes. And it's just a reminder to keep discourse positive, and hopefully we can work out a good location and opportunity for this. But this is a good thing for St. Mary's County overall, and we just need to make sure that we can respect the wishes of the community and the needs of the community at the same time. Budget work session this afternoon, I am very hopeful and that we will be able to come up with a good working budget probably by the end of today that is going to meet all the needs, and that's a good thing. Public forum tonight, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Commissioner Alderson.
All right, thank you. So we had travel and tourism up here this morning, and on Saturday I went to Barefoot Farms, a new ag tourism location right in 7th District, right off Oakley Road. And I met the owners there, and they're trying to get a huge facility going right there, and it looks great so far. They have 3 ponds that are 3 stock ponds to fish out of, large open space for camping, any kind of outdoor event. You have a little bandstand out there and everything. It's something that I'm not sure that there is in St. Mary's County. They actually have hunting cabins, and they do guided hunts on the property. So the cabins hold 2 people, but if you can get creative, whatever. They have a loft in each of them also. And I don't know what types of hunting they're going to be doing down there. I'm assuming that's going to be duck and probably deer, but I still think that's pretty cool operation they're going to have. And I really wish them the best of luck. I look forward to hearing a lot more from them. They do want to start partnering with economic development, become better partners with land use and growth management to see their vision through. And I'm going to hook them up with Tri-County Council and SMATIC with the opening of the Stauffer's Butcher Barn later on this year. They want to start raising cattle there. That way they can do their livestock. Everything stays right in St. Mary's County, which was the original vision of the RAC. And we're going to see that through. Hollywood Volunteer Rescue Squad Kentucky Derby fundraiser. I talked to Commissioner Hewitt and his wife Elaine quite a bit there. And I also talked to a lot of other people there, and we didn't talk about politics. We talked about horse racing, and we talked about just general stuff and kids and everything. And it was a really nice reprieve from what's going on. Is every once in a while we do all have to come up for air, and that's really important to come up for air. And it was a packed house. Even Bowles Farms, how big that facility is, the building was absolutely packed, and it was like I said, it was still good. It was a great time. Met a lot of new people, and look forward to seeing their results from their fundraiser. Coming up for air, that's something we all have to do every once in a while, and can't let everything run us down. And I do agree that there is a dire need for a mental health facility in St. Mary's County. Is that location necessarily the best? Probably not. But like Commissioner Hewitt also said, the owners have property rights. And the thing is, if it fits all the zoning parameters, then if they're within the letter of the law, it is not our place to tell them no. That is why we have the public hearings. That is why you get to come out and voice your opinions. And I look forward to seeing a lot of you here. And that is 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'll try.
Osro, you got it.
I'll try and do it without a timer. Today we have a budget hearing this afternoon. We'll be diving into the budget. We should be, as Commissioner Colvin said, really coming up and putting the finishing touches and the final polish on this budget, so we'll have a good working budget heading into tonight's public forum. So that will be a good thing. And so I hope everybody does come out this evening for our public forum. I always say this, the more people that come out, the more people that voice their opinions, that's what we want to hear. We will have probably a full docket because we will have, I'm sure, folks from the schools, and there will be, I'm sure, people here for the Pascal Treatment Center that is going in. I want to kind of echo what Commissioner Hewitt and Commissioner Alderson have said, that is this the greatest place to put this facility? Maybe, maybe not. There's a lot we don't know about it. There's a lot I don't know about it. But public outcry and opinion so far has been strong. So we will hear about that. But again, people have a right to do what they want with their property as long as it meets the zoning requirements and they follow the rules. I am a firm believer in that. I'm very strongly behind that. People have property rights, and they have a right to do with what they want with their property. But the public does have a time to come out and voice their opinion, and public opinion does sway people. So come out, voice your opinion, and make your voice heard. Had a very busy weekend this weekend. I wasn't able to go to the event that the other commissioners attended up at Bowles Farms. I was having my own fundraiser this past weekend. It was an absolutely great event. Shared some of the proceeds with the Marine Corps League here in St. Mary's County for their Gold Star Memorial project that they'll be putting here in Leonardtown down by the wharf. So that's a very important project to me and to my family. My son's a former Marine, and he's very involved with getting this put in and established. So we were able to raise a nice sum of money for to put towards their project, and it was just an absolutely great evening to have so many people come out, support me, support the Marine Corps League. It was great to visit with friends and supporters, and so it was absolutely wonderful evening. Also, this past weekend was the opening of the BAE Farmers Market, so was able to get down there early Saturday morning. Absolutely fantastic. They're selling crabs now too. That's the first year I've ever seen them selling crabs at the BAE Market. So that was great. So looking forward to enjoying that. Talking about coming up for air, this commissioner leaves Friday for a 10-day vacation. I will be here virtually on the 13th and virtually on the 20th, as I will be on vacation with my wife. I think I might finally have better scenery than Commissioner Hewitt when he goes on vacation and comes in virtually, because I'll be in Alaska, so I'm going to hope to have some beautiful Alaskan scenery behind me while I'm dialing in. So hope everybody has a great day, and I'm going to pass it along.
Thank you, Commissioner Ostra. Anyway, a lot of good things. I went and attended the Maryland Fest down in St. Mary's City this weekend. It used to be called the Beer Fest. Now it was called Maryland Fest. My wife was one of the greeters and information. She worked while I walked around and saw some of the activities. Nicely done. There was a lot of complaints about they liked the Beer Fest better last year. I don't know what the Beer Fest was like, but it must have been better attended than the Maryland Fest. But it was well attended, and great things to see as far as the history in St. Mary's City. The Pascal Center, once again, this commissioner hasn't really paid much attention to it until just the last few days even. But one thing that's important to the public out there, if there's you want to hear more about it, the first meeting, actual legal meeting in this county, will be the 22nd of May at the Board of Appeals meeting, 6:30 right here. So you need to follow up on our website and keep track of that. But right now it's the 22nd of May. That would be the first. That then has to go to the Planning Commission. And maybe after the Planning Commission, maybe the commissioners get involved. But right now, I have to also say it's up to the property rights of individuals. And if this passes all of those two big hearings, there's not a whole lot we can do about it. But we will definitely say the public does have a right to speak up and give their opinion on this location. So it'd be very important for those two meetings exactly. First one being the 22nd of May. Make sure you attend that. And then everything else, though, we got my hand operated on last Wednesday, 30th of April, right here locally, the Corporal Tunnel type of thing. And wow, what an improvement. It's amazing what they can do, and I've recovered very well. I'm just amazed at the operation and the follow-up. Things have been done well. Unfortunately, on the 16th, no, I'm sorry, I have to look at the calendar here, but on the 16th of May, our grandson gets an operation done. We have to go to Raleigh, North Carolina. I don't know all the details. I know he's getting something in his stomach. I think it's just a matter of hernia operation, and this tube in his stomach, I suppose, has to be taken out. And he's getting some operation on his throat done. I think it might be his adenoids. I don't know for sure. But, of course, we'll be down there for that on 16th of May. So on that said, he's doing very well for a child of a year and a half old and all he's been through. It's amazing. He's done very well. Sad news, though, we had some death in our family this past weekend. On Linda Guy, known as Gatton is her maiden name. My brother Bernie's wife passed away on Sunday. Those who are interested can contact, I don't know all the details right yet, but Brinsfield Funeral Home, I think, is handling everything. They actually have been living in West Virginia for almost 25 years, but I know they have a plot down at St. Michael's Church as far as burial, and I think they're going to have their burial down there. So those of you who know Linda and Bernie, contact Brinsfield Funeral Home for information. With that being said, we need to adjourn. I think we need to get out of here and go to. down to, where are we going to?
Going to Callaway, White Rose.
Callaway, yeah.
Law
So
Enforcement
White
Appreciation.
Chris- So it's for a presentation to some of our law enforcement officers in the county. Adjourn.
Mother's Day Sunday.